I was wondering, let's,
Hey,
should
can
we
we
go?
do that one more time for the record? Sorry.
Yes, let's do that. Let's go through it again. Do we need to go through the
It's all right. I'll call the roll. Mayor
Yes.
Dillenberg,
present?
Vice Mayor Worth,
Present.
Ms. Barber,
Present.
Ms. Harvey,
Here.
Ms. Worth.
More. Here.
More.
I'm sorry.
For what it's worth, it's more. Great. Thank you all for being here. We got a lot to cover in this session. I'd like to recommend that we go to an executive session since we've got our counselor here to discuss some of these critical issues that we have before us. Outline
Got a
them.
motion.
Yes, please. Thank you, Sage. Appreciate it. Is there a
I
second?
second.
Okay, Mandy, thank you. Was that Jay? We got dueling seconds here. Okay. And all those in favor of going into executive session, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Please know we'll be going into executive session now.
Okay, I'm
At
closing, I'm
6:32.
stopping the recording. And I'm letting people in.
Let me know when I can call the meeting to order.
You adjourn this one first.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, I'd like to adjourn our special meeting at 7:07. And do we need the motion to adjourn that meeting?
Yes,
Yes, please, Sage, maybe?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes, second, please.
Second.
Thank you for the second, Mandy. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 7:07, we officially adjourn that meeting, and I'd like to call our regular meeting of the Jerome Town Council today, Tuesday, January 11th. And now we're starting at 7:07 PM. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Candace, please call the roll.
Mayor Dillenberg,
Present.
Vice Mayor Worth,
Present.
Ms. Moore,
Here.
Ms. Barber,
Present.
Ms. Harvey.
Here.
Thank you. Glad you're all here, and thank you for all the community members that are joining us on this very important discussion this evening, and council is here as well. Let's begin. Let's get the financial reports along. Any questions, comments, additions, corrections?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the financial reports, please, for December 2021, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Financial reports have been accepted. Thank you very
Mr. Mayor,
much.
may I say something real quick?
You may.
I have to say, I've been looking at these reports for over 3 years now, and I usually have tons and tons of questions for Candace when I am looking over this. And today was unique. I only had one question, and it was just verifying that it was a water truck and not a watering truck, and that we didn't get a new truck. So everything looked amazing this month. Thank you so much, Melanie. I know it's you.
Melanie, you're guilty as charged. And thank you, Sage. I appreciate, listen, your expertise on the numbers there, I appreciate a lot. It really does. So getting that kind of positive feedback, Melanie, you should feel very accomplished.
Yes,
Well
thank
done.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sage. Okay, staff and council reports, please, Candace.
I'll go quickly because I know we have a big agenda.
Yes,
I submitted a Prop 202 funding request to the Yavapai Apache Nation for $20,000 toward a new shuttle van and/or the public restroom project.
yes.
Candidate packets are ready for pickup. They're all done, and they're just waiting there for y'all. I submitted
You
additional.
want to double your salary next year, if any, so just so you know.
Submitted additional information regarding our request to Yavapai County for American Rescue Plan Act funds for replacement of the Lower Bell sewer line. I'm hopeful that we might actually get those funds for this. That would be amazing. It's
Fabulous.
it's meant for projects that are not in town limits, and that's the line that's outside of town limits and serves only outside of town customers. So there is a possibility we might get funding, and that would be awesome. Continued work on the CDBG grant for water system improvements, and we'll talk about that later in the meeting. Other than that, it was the usual and lots of it. Congratulations to Ben Garza on our crew. He's been here for 1 year. And Kristen, who completed 2 years on January 2nd.
Wow. Yay.
And
Thank you.
just as a side note to add to the, to my report, because it wasn't happening at the time I wrote it, we did accept the resignation already of our new zoning administrator, Bob
That's
Gould. He realized he, for health reasons, he can't continue to do this job. So we're back on the search. If anybody knows anybody, I've got it back on Indeed.com and I'm putting it on the website later, so. And I also started the budget process by sending stuff out to all our departments, questionnaires and spreadsheets. So where it's time to start that process. Water flows are okay. Sales tax revenues are amazing. And that's my report.
Thank you so much, Candace. I don't see any hands up from council members. So if we could get a motion to accept the reports, please.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Sage. Is there a second?
I'll second, sorry.
Thank you, Mandy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Staff and council reports are accepted. And again, with particular appreciation, Melanie, thank you so very much for all the great work you're doing still as we went forward. Moving along, zoning administrators report, planning and zoning design review minutes. What do we have on this thing? Any, Candace, are you?
There's just some minutes there for your review. That's all. If
Right.
there's no need to
Okay.
take action.
Okay. No one has any questions, comments? We'll move on. Thank you. Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes.
Mayor,
this-
I just
yes.
want to point out that I apologize. You don't have the closed session minutes yet. Those are not ready. So you'll just be approving the open session minute.
Okay, thank you so much.
He muted himself.
Oh, Jack, you're muted for some reason.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Sage. Yes, your question or comment, Sage?
I just want to say whoever makes the motion for approval of these, I cannot do it and we need to do them separately because I need to abstain from the first one.
Thank you. So minutes of the December 7th, 2021 open meeting. Any comments, additions, corrections? Hearing none, I'd like a motion to accept those minutes individually, and then we'll move to the next one. Can I get a motion to approve then?
Jane, you're muted. Jane, you're muted.
Oh, motion to approve December 7th minutes.
For open meeting.
Second.
Thank you. Second, Mandy, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Ayes have it. December 7 meetings have been, minutes have been approved.
I
Moving to-
abstain.
Thank you, and yes, and Sage abstain. Thank you. And then moving to December 14th. Any issues?
Motion to
questions?
approve.
Thank you, Sage. Is there a second, please?
Second,
Thank you, Jane. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. We accept the minutes for the open meeting of December 14th. Thank you. Petitions from the public.
I have no petitions.
Okay, that's good. So we'll move to ordinances and resolutions. And what I'm going to do, we're going to be discussing in item 7A, the second reading of ordinance 477. And I know Cameron is here and Rob is here, so I wanted to give them both an opportunity to speak. Let me do the reading and then I will let you both speak initially. And if there are other people that want to speak as well, that'd be fine. Is that okay? Thank you. Okay, so item 7A, second reading and possible adoption, ordinance number 477, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Jerome, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving an amendment to the zoning map. Thank you. So is Rob, I didn't see Rob, is Rob on here as well, Cameron?
I haven't seen him on unless he's on via iPhone.
Or maybe the iPhone. Well, I'll let you begin then, if that's all right, if you'd like to speak.
Sure. I was going to speak post vote, but as you know, we've been going through this for about 6 months for this particular rezone. We've held a community meeting. We've met with all of the surrounding residents, and we've answered a number of questions. Bill Sims and I have had a lot of conversation, as well as representatives of Verde Exploration. And what I wanted to do is just have some clarity about why we're doing the rezone. Phase 2 of our project is an institutional project. The swimming pool itself, when it was built in 1927, was an institutional building. And it may come as a surprise that C1 isn't just a commercial district. It actually incorporates institutional use. And so items 15, 16, and 17 for use within a C1 district is the establishments whose principal function is basic research, design, and pilot or experimental product development. 16 is trade schools, art and music schools and studios. And 17 is headquarters for charitable, philanthropic, and welfare organizations. Phase 2 of our project is around historic preservation and is a museum that would fall under both charitable, philanthropic, and organizations, and it would be the headquarters of that. So that's why we're doing the rezone. Secondly, coming from planning and zoning Korea, one of the things that's problematic is split zone lots. And Bill and I have talked a lot about the fact that this is a good case study for the half dozen to dozen property owners that have split lots in the town of Jerome. Currently, our building footprint in the AR, we're going to be converting 35% of the lot from AR to C1. The building footprint is approximately 3% of the overall site. So we're looking at changing less than 300 square foot of the building from AR to C1. We don't have to do that. We don't need to do that. We have multiple designs for our projects with a split zone, but quite frankly, for planning and zoning administrators, it's much better to have unified lots. I should note that 2 planning and zoning administrators have tried to unify this specific lot, which is about 11,000 square feet. And both of whom have resigned as a result of some of the processes that took place in order to rezone this lot. We followed the processes as they've been laid out by the town, and which is why we've had so many meetings about it. And so what we're trying to do is to set guidelines for Bill and the town council to deal with other split lot property owners. And so we're kind of like a case study or the tip of the spear. And then the tertiary reason, which is something I know that Bill has been talking a lot about in executive session, is by doing it all C1, that allows the setbacks such that we can build a structurally sound and safe retaining walls that will protect the town for further subsidence caused by the collapse of Queen Conglomerate and Juarez Diaz. Without the rezone, we wouldn't physically be able to do that. And the liability and the responsibility of that will have to go on the adjacent property owner. The adjacent property owner is the town of Jerome. So,
Yeah.
you know, we're actually trying to help the town limit its liability and protect itself. And so part of this rezone allows us to have the ability to build a wall that stops the subsidence. If we can't do that, then the town does. So those are the 3 reasons for
Thank
doing the rezone.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your thoroughness in that, and the explanation is very helpful. So I don't see Rob anywhere. Counselor, is he here?
He's
No?
on, Mr. Mayor, he's on.
He's on. Okay, Rob, you've got the floor if you'd like.
He doesn't show he's muted. Rob,
You're
are you,
muted. I guess you're muted, Counselor.
his name, Candace, do you show him on? I see.
Well,
his-
there it is. I see his name down there. Rob.
But he is on. He came on just recently, but
Yeah.
not
Rob,
muted. He might have an issue with his audio.
Rob, any luck? Uh, Rob, can you hear us? We can't hear or see you.
Well, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Now
Yeah,
we
we can.
can. Yes, you're on. You
Okay, all
got a
right,
couple of minutes.
all right, thank you. One, I want to thank the town attorney. I think he's correctly figured out that there's a solution here. There's a big benefit to the town. Town gets a very expensive retaining wall built. And in return, Mr. Sinclair gets what he's asking for, which I think is reasonable. And he's going to spend his money to upgrade property that I think will be a benefit to the town. The alternative is if the town doesn't get this fixed, I believe the town has liability for the fact that there are dedicated town roads that are not being properly maintained, are not in use. And any property owners in that area who don't have the use of these roads are being penalized and could have claims against the town. So I think what you have before you in terms of the recommended ordinance is entirely appropriate and fair to the town, more than fair to the town, and limits the liability of the town. And Mr. Sinclair is willing to spend a substantial amount of money to get this problem fixed.
Thank you,
So,
Rob.
on behalf of Verde Exploration and a property owner in that area, we support the results that Mr. Sims has obtained.
Thank you so much. I know you care about the town a lot, and I certainly appreciate what you've done and continue to do, and your input this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up from council members or anything. So Candace, so I do this correctly, so if we do this as our second reading and adopt this ordinance 477, the way it is and the way it's been outlined by our council, that would be great.
Did you read it in title, Mayor? I'm not sure.
I did, I thought I did.
Yes, you did. You did.
I did, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, there's a blank in the ordinance that we need to fill in.
Oh, there is a blank.
Yes.
Candace, you want to,
Well, Mr. Mayor, let me, Dr.
Bill, thank you.
Let me explain. This really does try to capture the opportunity that Mr. Sinclair has offered in a way that looks at the two responsibilities you have as a town. One legislative that you as a council have the sole responsibility for, and that is to authorize the zoning. And that's what's on the table tonight. You all have expressed concerns to me about having a process whereby Mr. Sinclair's comments and commitment regarding subsidence and right-of-way abandonment can be documented. It shouldn't be documented in an ordinance. So what this says is you are going to issue this, if three of you agree, you're going to authorize the zoning, but then you're going to say the building permit, which is not legislative, it's administrative, and it has to be approved to allow him and his partner to develop the property under the authorized zoning, will be conditioned upon having a development agreement. What it says in this document, it just simply says the development agreement will accomplish the very things
Yes.
Mr. Sinclair has explained to you, the council, and the town regarding his plans. We're not asking him to do anything that he hasn't already committed to do. But this gets his zoning tonight, and then it
Yep.
kicks down the road, the development agreement that'll document the process for doing the legals, finding out where the right-of-way is, talking to Mr. Sinclair about his engineering concerning the subsidence. That would all be in the development agreement, and that would be documented before he could have a building permit. And the development agreement can help him as well. The development agreement statute sets up a process whereby he can get his CUP for the existing uses, the residential use in a commercial district. And we can have a process whereby you, the town, commit to process it through design review, planning and zoning, and the council. And then with the development agreement in place, then having gone through the process, he then could then submit a building permit application. The blank has to have a certain amount of time. And he and I have not agreed upon a time. You all have to do that. And I open this for discussion.
And I see, do we need to pick that time now?
Yes, you do. It needs to be in the ordinance. And there was some direction by some counselors to go for 36 months. I don't know if, let's have discussion. Let's talk to Mr. Sinclair about that. Or that wouldn't be Mr. Pekovich, it would be Mr. Sinclair. If we were to put 36 months in,
3 years. Yeah.
that'd be acceptable.
Is 3 years acceptable, Cameron?
You have to bear in mind that under the way that the ordinance is written, it would be applying for the building permit as opposed to gaining the building permit. And
Yes.
the reason that's important is you now have multiple committees that will be sanctioned by the both this ordinance and the development agreement, such that if they broke that 36 months or they broke a time period, then it will nullify the town's securing kind of less liability around the subsidence. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you as much time as possible, such that in the design process and the P&Z process, it doesn't get held up. The town ends up becoming liable again for the subsidence. And then we go through this whole process again in 3.5 years. So we said 60 months. We're willing to go to 36 months for the application of the building permit because I think we can get there.
Thank you. That sounds good to me. So 36 months, Counselor?
That's excellent. This really has been an example of how governments can work with landowners.
Yeah, this is great.
Results
I
that
love
benefit
it. And
both.
for the town of Jerome to get this wonderful benefit and the protection. Thanks, Cameron. That's great. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 477
With the insertion of 36 months.
with the insertion of 36 months. Mandy, I
Second
see-
the Dr. Mayor's motion.
thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, let's do individual roll call on this. So we know, rather than just yay and nay, if we could.
All right. Ms. Barber,
Yay.
Mr. Mayor Dillenberg,
Yay,
Ms. Harvey,
Nay.
Ms. Moore,
I've recused myself from
Right,
this,
yes,
so
yes,
I'm
okay.
abstaining.
and Ms. Worth.
Yay.
so 3 out of 4.
That under your code causes
It
the,
passes. So that
effective in
we've
30
adopted
days.
now ordinance 477. Thank you, Counselor. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Cameron. We really look forward to the process moving forward with great success for everybody. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, moving to item 7B. First reading ordinance number 478, an ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Jerome, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending section 509, quote, signs, close quote, of the Jerome zoning ordinance. This is, we may conduct the first reading of the ordinance.
And
Council members, what are your thoughts on this? Candace?
Mayor, I just want to give you a quick review of this.
Yeah.
If you remember, this came to you before from the Planning and Zoning Commission, and council asked for several changes, so it went back again to Planning and Zoning. They accepted the changes that council asked for, and it's now coming back to you in the form pretty much of what you asked them to look at. This is in 2 parts, basically. The ordinance is the one that you will have the first reading of. Then the next item is a resolution that actually includes the meat of the document, which makes it a public record. And we do it that way so that we don't have to publish the entire thing, and it's a very expensive process.
Okay.
So that's basically it. Any change, hopefully you won't have any more changes to it, but if you do, it would be part of the resolution.
So at this point, any comment from Sage, please? And then Jane, I didn't, no, Sage, thank you. Sage?
You're muted, Sage.
I'm trying to remember how to unmute it without holding my thing down all the time. There it is. Because usually I just push my space bar down. I have a handful of things on this one. On page 3 of 11, number 12 and number 20 seem like they're the same definition to me. So it just seems like it's redundant.
Hmm.
And then I don't know how anybody else feels about that, but then on page 8 of 11E, it talks about temporary signs shall maintain a minimum setback from the right of way
Oh,
of 5 feet or less.
you were kind of muted there. I'm not muted, but muffled. Could you say that again?
So page 8 of 11,
Uh-huh.
and it's E, about 2/3 of the way down the page, says temporary signs shall maintain a minimum setback from the right of way of 5 feet. Unless there's a primary structure on the lot which is located closer to the right of way than 5 feet, in which case the sign may be placed at the same setback as the primary structure. So 5 feet back from, I'm not sure that any business has 5 foot from a right of way anywhere in this town. Like, that just seems like it doesn't fit to me. And then the next page is 9, and number 11 talks about directional signs and that you can't have any more than 2, and that their maximum total area is 4 square foot. And that seems extremely small to me. And then also H2, billboards is listed as a prohibited sign, but there's no definition for billboards. Then my last one is on page 10, number 18, where it's also a prohibited sign, signs with visible bulbs and neon tubing or luminous paints. Most open and closed signs are made of neon tubing that's visible because that's how it makes the words. So I think that needs to be addressed. I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks, Sage. Thank you so much. Any other comments, additions, corrections? So at this stage, okay.
Dr. Mayor, I
yes,
just
ma'am.
want to second that I had the concern about the neon tube situation too, because they are mostly lit up signs.
Yeah. Thank you. So at this stage, Candace, how do we leave this?
I would like to ask the attorney if these are changes that we can make at second reading, or does this have to go back to planning and zoning? You're muted, Bill. You're still muted.
And I'm not a millennial. I can't do two things.
No, there you go.
on this
You got it.
computer.
You're on.
No, you can make these changes here.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Bill. So let's do that, Candace, okay?
Okay, can I just review that, please, and make sure we're all
Of
on?
course.
Sure. Let's go back to,
Mandy's got her hand up.
oh, Mandy, yeah.
And Jane too? Wait, let me get Mandy and then we'll get to Jane.
I did, just to talk about the neon sign thing. I'm good.
Okay, good. Jane, please.
Jane, you're muted.
I'm doing it too. Is there some way to combine 12 and 20? Because I agree. And I think
Yeah,
one of those could have, because the only difference is it says used to identify residents of premises. That doesn't say in the one in 12. It says it in 20.
Right. I think we could just get rid of 12 and then put the 2 by 12 inches in 20, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I think that would work.
Thanks. Jane.
And rest of it, yeah, just go through because I think they were valid issues.
Okay,
Thank you.
so then, where Sage brought up the minimum setback of 5 feet, do you want to just eliminate that provision?
And have no setback?
Sage, you're muted.
That's for a
Jane?
temporary sign.
Right.
So I think, isn't there like an ADA requirement that we have to leave 36 inches
I don't know. I don't know.
to not impede like walkways and
Oh,
stuff?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think maybe the 36 inches.
Would be adequate.
So it's 3 feet.
3
Yeah.
feet.
So change it to 3 feet? Is that what?
I
it-
would be good with that.
Jane, you okay?
Yeah, I was gonna say, there are only a few places that I can think of that have that ability too, and I agree, 36 is fine.
All right.
Thank you.
And then the next page, no more than 2 directional signs are allowed with a maximum total area of 4 square feet. Before, it was basically saying the sign should be no more than 4 square feet, and now you're saying 2 with a maximum. Do you want to make it 8 square feet?
That seems reasonable to me.
And as I've seen that in other jurisdictions.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right, so
Yeah,
8.
sounds
Yeah, I'm
good.
okay with that.
Thank you.
And then there's no definition for billboards. If you want me to, I can find a standard definition of billboard. I'm sure they're out there, and insert it in the definitions.
Yes, please.
Okay,
And then we'll take out neon tubing under number 18 at the very end.
good.
Is that accurate?
I think
Yes.
So,
Okay, so I think those are the changes we'll make to it.
any other, I think we're good. Okay, so thank you, Candace. Thank you, everyone, for getting that clarified. Now we have another sign.
Oh, wait.
Almost made it.
You need I can't even talk tonight, a motion to to adopt the resolution. And the
Yes.
first reading of the ordinance, you don't need any motion for, you've done that. But
Yeah.
you do need a motion to adopt the resolution, so.
Can I get a motion, please? the
Motion to
resolution
adopt resolution number 632.
As
Thank you,
amended,
Sue.
right?
As amended.
Wrong one, wrong.
Huh?
Not 632, 632 is PSPRS.
31, right?
631.
631.
Motion to approve resolution number 631.
With the,
As amended.
yes. And second,
I'll
Second,
second.
okay, we got Jane and then Mandy. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. So we'll get that ready for the next meeting. So moving to 7D, I believe. Resolution 632, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Jerome, Arizona, adopting a PSPRS pension funding policy.
This is something we're required to do every year. It's standard language, and it basically says we accept what they say that our assets and liabilities are, and we tell them that we're going to, we have an unfunded, we're 95.9% funded. We've been overfunded in the past, so we're actually a slight deficit, and this basically says that we will work to make sure that that goes away at some point by 2036.
Sage?
I just want to say that even at 95%, we are one of the best funded in the state. And I would make a motion to approve resolution number 632.
Thank you, Sage. Is there a second?
I'll
Second,
second.
Second, Jane, again, boy, she's getting quick tonight, Jane. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you for resolution 632. Now we're moving to 7E. First reading ordinance number 479, an ordinance of the town of Jerome, the town council, of the town of Jerome, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending section 8-5, quote, tour business code, close quote, of the Jerome Town Code. Any discussion on this, Candace, or?
I can just review it quickly if you like.
Yes.
This is based on discussions that we've held at prior meetings, and the changes that would be made is that we're clarifying that tour businesses, right now it says tour businesses shall not operate in, conduct tours through, or traverse residential areas. And we're adding the words town or private streets in residential areas, because they
Great.
do have to go down 89A, and
Yep.
part of that is residential, and we can't control that. General provisions, if you go down to C, right now it already outlaws external sound amplification devices. We're adding or bright lights at the chief's recommendation.
Recommendation.
And further down, no tour business shall conduct any portion of a tour within town of Jerome limits after 10 o'clock PM. That was what was discussed at the last council meeting. And then on the following page, we had talked about a limitation on the number of tour businesses. Right now, there's a blank there, and we can fill that in, or we can all think about that and fill it in for the second reading. But those are the changes that were made. There was a discussion about the possibility of controlling parking of tour business vehicles, and we're going to do a little more research on that and come back to you with a different recommendation on that.
Thank you. Any discussion from council members? Jane, yes, please. Oh, and Sage, I'll get you next, Sage. I just saw.
Jane, you're muted.
Muted, Jane.
How would we define bright lights?
I wondered about that.
Yeah,
Bill, is there?
lumens.
Lumens, you have to use
Yeah.
lumens. I could get,
Yeah.
is this first read?
Yes,
Let me send you some examples on lumens.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Great,
Thank
so
you.
much. Great point,
The
Jane.
other
Thank you.
thing, a person that lives across from the Catholic Church, she said she was going to send an email,
I did
said
get-
that some of the devices that they have to detect ghosts make a lot of noise. And I don't know whether that would fall under amplified devices or not.
I have her email, if you'd like me to read it to you. I think she intended for it to be read.
Okay, and then the other comment, do we know how many? Well, the limitation on number of tour businesses, does that need to be defined as tour businesses that operate in Jerome?
Well, yeah, operate out of Jerome, yeah.
Yeah, and then do we know how many walking tours there are besides the ones with vehicles?
We have 3 licensed right now, 3 tour businesses, and one of them does a walking tour.
Okay. And that's it for my comments.
Thanks. Sage, did you have a?
Yep,
Nope.
I would just like to make a suggestion of
please.
capping the tour businesses at 3. I think we have enough tour businesses in this town.
Counselor, any comment on that?
I think,
Well-
I think the justification has to be based on traffic and congestion in your town. We have to have a reasonable basis as to why you chose 3.
Okay, that would absolutely,
Yeah.
it would be the congestion, the amount of traffic, the congestion on the sidewalks is ridiculous when it's
it
busy
is.
up here. I've had to walk around, I can't even tell you how many times huge crowds of people are on a tour in front of the smelter or in front of Nellie Bly's or in front of the Bartlett, and they don't move, and their tour business companies don't ask them to move. So I don't know that they even tell them that they're not supposed to impede the sidewalk. So I think that right now we have, sometimes you can see 5, 6 different tours, walking tours going on uptown, and it does impede traffic and walking on the sidewalks.
Yes.
It will be helpful if the marshal could document that. We don't have to issue citations, but if someone on behalf of the town can document the congestion, that will help justify this one.
Thank you. I see Mandy has her hand up.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. I would, before we would put a number in there, I would like to have more concrete information and legal advice on what precedents may exist with similar ordinances in Arizona, and then if there is, kind of a standardized process as far as determining how many of what types of businesses, no matter what those types of businesses might be within the state. And also in the language, just as a language suggestion, since we were talking about in this limitation section, businesses that operate out of Jerome, I think I would rather have it say tour businesses where the tour begins and ends in Jerome.
That's an interesting point.
I think that's clearer.
Yes,
I don't know.
It is, yes.
it is. Thank you, Mandy. I see Jane has a hand up again. Are you all set,
Um,
Mandy?
I'm done, yeah.
Thank you. Jane?
Just a comment about other tour groups. Jerome is pretty different as far as the congestion on the streets, and we have so many people walking out in the highway. And when the sidewalks are congested on weekends and down in certain areas, it's bad enough without the tours. And then the addition of the tour groups and the vans driving around. We can see what happens in Sedona with the tour vehicles going around there. And we're even smaller. And I don't really feel like there are any other towns that are quite like us with the narrow streets and sidewalks.
I hear you. I wanted to put a walkway, yellow lines there and a couple of heavy traffic areas, and ADOT wouldn't let me do it. So anyway, you're right, Jane. It's a risky business and we need to do better. Do you have enough on that, Candace?
I do.
I see a hand up there.
Did you want me to read the email that Erica Nitz sent for the council or not?
Yes,
please.
yes, please. And then we'll get to the question or comment from the,
She
Public
says, reminder, I live directly across from the Catholic Church and am sleeping about 30 feet from its front steps. And I am clear that the church side of the street is commercial and my side is residential. Noise, the EMF meters used for ghost hunting are loud, especially in groups of 4 or more. The screeching buzz is very much like a drone directly overhead. The tour guides are usually trying to yell over the sound. There was a drone over the church about 11 p.m. the other night, so I had a good spooky comparison. The church has 4 sides and a resident. The tours could focus on the tall, imposing backside across from the rear of Grapes and eliminate noise in the residential area entirely. This would also eliminate time of night issues for residents. Thanks for listening.
thank you very much. I see Aaron, is that right? Has his hand up?
Yes, correct.
Please.
I've mentioned this last time, the meeting prior, not the last one I wasn't here for. But when we go out to the church, our spirit boxes are actually muted when we go there. When we're doing history in the front, the spirit boxes are muted. So whoever that's coming from is not coming from us. I've already spoke to Alan Moom about this personally, and he told me that he has no issues with my company at all. All the complaints he's received have come from the other companies. He told me that he explained this to everybody on the town council, that his issues haven't come from me. He doesn't have any other complaints. So I can understand, if that is going on, but that is not coming on from our company. In regards to the timing, I spoke last time and said on my own volition, my own accord, I removed my 11 p.m. tours, which I told you was a financial hit on my part. I purchased lanterns instead of flashlights that have beams. I told this to you guys before. The only thing that was suggested was, hey, we should probably put a time limit on them and change their flashlights. Well, that's what I just told you that I just did on my own accord. So I don't know what the force is here. If it's for the other companies, that's fine. My only regards, I have 2 issues that I just want to bring up. One, I don't mind the 10 o'clock issue, as long as I could go on till 11. I told you I cut my 11 to midnight tour gone, but I do have a 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. So I'd like to be able to operate till 10 p.m. in the town. And the last hour would be at the auditorium at the high school, which is out of town on private property. inside the auditorium just to finish out that last hour. So I'm only asking for a stretch from 10 to 11, but that stretch is only on private property, not in town. 2, I am concerned about the regards regarding North Street. You know, I explained Candace before, obviously it was after the meeting, but Verde Exploration and I have a contract regarding the cemetery. So I'm trying to understand what liable rights you have to block that. I know you're saying that we're going into a neighborhood, but I mean, the traffic that comes along that turn, on that hairpin turn, couldn't be any worse than us going through there. And once again, if we're not going there past 10 o'clock, I'm kind of, you know, I'm trying to understand where you guys are blocking that from.
Thank you. And I really appreciate your efforts to, you know, look out for the town as you continue your business there.
And I do say one more thing, you know, I haven't seen any other tour company come to these town council meetings time and time again. I have, you know, I've been trying to work with the town people. I've talked to some people. I've made my changes on my own. I've been trying to work with you guys willingly, you know. My sister's worked with Officer Carey doing, you know, litter trash stuff. You know, she's been involved with that stuff in other towns as well. So, I mean, our focus here isn't that we're trying to degrade the town or tear things apart. In fact, I'm here trying to find a happy medium.
Thank
And I'm
you.
just hoping that you guys can, you know, work with us on it as well.
No, we sincerely appreciate that. I mean, sincerely, I mean it. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from any council members? Bill, anything from your end? No? Candace? So at this stage, what are we doing with this?
At this stage, you have the first reading of this with a couple of changes.
Yeah.
If you want to further consider any of Mr. Bailey's comments, that's your prerogative.
You know, the 10 to 11 at the private school, I think that, you know, I don't have a problem with that in reality, I don't think. I don't know if anyone has any comments on that.
Could I ask a question of Aaron? Is that indoors, Aaron, that portion of the tour?
Yes, it's inside the auditorium.
So maybe we could change it to no outdoor tours after
Yes, there you go.
10 o'clock. Would that?
I
work?
would be comfortable with that and show our
No,
appreciation
they're
there
just
and
shaking their head.
respect what he's doing there.
Mr. Mayor, this is Rob Petrich. Could I have just a minute for public comment?
Of course, Counselor.
I stayed online because I saw this item on the agenda and I want to confirm what Mr. Aaron Bailey just said, that he does have a valid contract with Verde Exploration for tours at the high school and at the cemetery, which is a privately owned piece of property owned by Verde Exploration. And we've had other contracts with other tour operators, and if they were not responsible, we took notice and we terminated those. And I can tell you that Mr. Bailey has been very honorable in his dealings with Verde Explorations. We've had 0 complaints from any citizens in Jerome. He's indicated the town police department has had no complaints regarding his operation. I'm looking at this and it seems like the concerns of the town are aimed at persons other than Mr. Bailey's business. And for the town attorney, I agree that there needs to be a reasonable and rational basis for this kind of ordinance where you're attempting to prohibit a certain group of businesses from using public streets that everybody else can use. So, you know, I'm looking at people with minivans that go down those streets. How is that different from Mr. Bailey's operation where you've had no complaints? Usually use or restriction of public streets is based on tonnage of vehicles where you got large trucks coming in and damaging your roads. I don't see a difference here with Mr. Bailey's vans. So I would urge the council to consider that whatever you do requires a reasonable and rational basis, not just because you say so at a council meeting. It needs to be documented with actual facts and figures. So I'm concerned that you're damaging the business of Mr. Bailey, who's trying in good faith to work with the town, and would urge you to find some way to accommodate people who are responsible and do work with the town. That's all I have.
Appreciate that, Rob. I see that Sage had her hand up, and then Jane, and then Cameron. So Sage, then Jane, and Cameron.
I would like to stay with the 10 o'clock shutdown time. I think that just
Even for the
because,
indoors.
just because one business is doing everything that he's supposed to be doing doesn't mean that the other businesses are. And we're not picking on you, Aaron. We're addressing an issue in this town. I think that it's only fair to the residents that 10 o'clock, I mean, most towns have a noise ordinance for 10 o'clock. Our noise ordinance is 24/7. So I could call on noise ordinance at 3 in the afternoon. I have friends who have been called on at 3 in the afternoon. But I think I think for residents, and even if it's inside a building somewhere, if they're driving through residential area, they shouldn't be there anyways, first off. Second off, in the commercial district, there are residents, and I struggle with saying, well, you guys got to put up with the noise. They own property or they rent property. Yes, you have a business here, but they live here. And I think that it's fair to them to be able to have a decent bedtime if they want and not be woken up by a bunch of noise and people walking around or, you know, doing whatever they do, lights in their windows, whatever. So I think that 10 o'clock is fair. Thanks.
Thank you. We had Jane, then Cameron, then I just saw who.
We've had
Lacey,
this
and
in
then
our
Lacey.
town.
I see you, Lacey. We'll get you in a second.
I know.
We've had in our town code that there are to be no commercial vehicles or commercial businesses using our residential neighborhoods. It's been in the town code for at least 15 years. And part of that is just because of people driving on residential neighborhoods, and it's a commercial business in a residential neighborhood. And we've always felt that due to the crowds in town, that the people in our residential neighborhoods that are not on 89A deserve to have some amount of privacy and not have congestion on the residential streets. So
Thank you,
I don't think that's in question as far as I'm concerned about limiting commercial activities in residential neighborhoods.
Thank you.
As far as the cemetery goes, I mean, that's a really bad curve there as far as commercial businesses going down to the cemetery, and it does go through a residential neighborhood. So I'm not sure how to deal with that. I mean, if there's an agreement with one business to go down to the cemetery, I don't know about that, but I mean, we even have businesses, commercial tours coming up from other places and going to the cemetery. And our town code has restricted commercial traffic and businesses on residential roads. And I think our neighborhoods deserve to have privacy.
Thank you,
That's
Jane.
all.
And let me get Cameron, and I see then Mandy, and then Jera. No, sorry, Lacey.
Yeah, just to weigh in, we're like Wendy and whoever will be buying the Guth property. We get a lot of the tours to us, and I think 10 o'clock is fine. And I'm not sure what you can do about when tours are on private land or in a private building. I don't think there's I think they have a strong case to argue that they have the right to do that. The comment I was going to make is, if you make a number like there's only going to be 3 operating tour companies in Jerome, you have 2 issues. One, I think, you know, it's been repeated a number of times that Aaron and his company are good faith players, and that the other groups are causing a lot of the trouble. How do you put a process in place to remove a business or allow a business in? Much the same way that when you were doing short-term rentals, you wanted to have a limited number. Like, how will the town oversee that process? And what will be the licensing process for those businesses, such that if there's a bad faith player, they get removed and the license gets reapproved? So it's a whole process that needs to be set up. So I think that's something that we need to worry about. And then coupled with that, and I think Jane had mentioned it eloquently, is that it's not just the Jerome tour companies. We have tour companies coming from as far as Sedona coming up the hill to look at various things, including large coaches that's dropping off large numbers of people by the fire station. So, you know, I think it will be good to have an ordinance in place for the tour companies. I just worry about how we adjudicate or how we give those licenses to particular companies.
Thank you. We'll get Mandy and Lacey, and then we'll get up to Jera.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. I have a couple of things on this. I had the same kind of concern as Cameron with we have tour businesses that are coming up into town. No guaranteed, you know, my suggestion was those that operate in and out. But, you know, do we have any way to regulate those? I would rather a locally owned, locally based tour business be operating till whenever than a large motor coach showing up at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And so where are our options on that? So that would be, I guess, a question for Candace and maybe the counselor. And then, you know, if we had a similar discussion when we were talking about the possibility of when we were working on our marijuana ordinance, how, you know, if one walks away or doesn't have their license anymore, how do we decide who gets the license at that point? And I know there's ways to do that, but I would like to see it clearly explained, the process, if we do decide on a specific number of limits. And then I would also like to see something in the ordinance that is a little bit clearer about regulation, as far as if they violate the ordinance, what is the process, how many times, where, you know, where do we get to where we give them a chance to fix it versus, you know, where are we at if we are suspending the license pending an investigation or retraining, where are we removing the license? I think it needs to be much, much clearer. Just very, very similarly to how bars are regulated by the Arizona Corporation Commission. There's a super clear line of, if you do the things under this, this is the consequence. If you do things under this is the consequence. If you've done this many times, this is the consequence. And I think that if we're going to be going through this process with this particular type of business, we need to be regulating it in a way that the entire thing, top to bottom, is incredibly clear to everyone. From a personal standpoint, and I know this doesn't necessarily relate to making a legal decision on things, but I just want to share that I have been in the old high school for pushing 17 years now. In some way, shape, or form. And I have never had a problem with Mr. Bailey's tour company when they come. They park, they get out, they are quiet, they go in the door. I don't even know they're there other than the fact that the van is there. They come back out, they get back in. And my bedroom looks over where they park, get out, and go in. So I was having problems with some of the other tour companies as far as they'd be out in the parking lot talking really loud, or flashlights shining in my windows, that kind of thing. I just want to say, with Mr. Bailey's company, I have never had a problem. I don't generally have any problem with if somebody wanted to go visit a museum at 10 o'clock at night and the museum was going to be open at 10 o'clock at night and they were going to be inside the museum after 10 o'clock at night, I don't have any problem with that.
Thank
And
you.
I kind of look at what's happening there. And if we write it into the ordinance, then we have that as a very similar concept.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Mandy. Lacey, you still want to comment?
Hello. I just wanted to say, as far as like the noise level or disturbance, the bars are open till like 2 or however late at night. And I've lived near the bars before, and they're a great disturbance because they're operating at late hours. So I think it's a little unfair to say that a tour would have to stop at 10. And if he's saying that they're going to be indoors in a contained way, you know, kind of away from people, then that should be okay. I feel like that's a good compromise.
Thank you. Good point. Thanks, Lacey.
Yep.
I see, Jane, do you have your hand back up? No, just checking. Let's get Jared.
Yes, I just have to say, since the tours haven't been going down North Drive, it's been incredibly peaceful. I didn't realize how disruptive it was having vans coming like one after the other, almost like every half hour sometimes. It is so peaceful not having that. I mean, I can't even tell you how. It just struck me that right after the meeting last time, how I realized there weren't vans going down, and I just was amazed how nice that was. So I
Thank
just
you.
want to say that. Yeah,
Appreciate
it
that,
did make a
Tom.
huge
Super.
difference. All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Much appreciated. All right, let's get back to Aaron. Aaron, did you have any comments?
Yeah, just lastly, just kind of recap, I do appreciate, Lacey saying what she said, Sage is saying if we're by the school, or even what Mandy said, that, Sage thinks that people aren't getting a good night's rest. There's, the traffic's there. I live in the UVX. I can hear Sage and all her friends talking at Paul and Jerry's at midnight. The voice reverberates up there. I can hear their conversations. I know what they're saying. Like, I get, it's the same thing. How are you going to tell me that a bar can be open till 2 a.m., but I can't operate till 11? I have private property. I mean, that's just not being, I'm like I said, even that said, let's find a reasonable compromise. It just seems a bit tight to say that. In terms of, Cameron making some mentions, how do we regulate these certain things? And Mandy said it too, like, sure, there should be some things imposed that say, hey, like a marijuana dispensary license, they get, a draw, a lottery, if you will. But more or less importantly, how do we regulate these places? Well, I think especially the cemetery, I have exclusive right, or I have the right to be there because I have a contract. But I've talked to Verdi about having an exclusive right there. That would block anybody else from going to the cemetery. And it solely gives me the right to go there, which reduces the amount of volume there tremendously. In addition, I agree with Mandy, maybe the tour companies that are not in town, they're not paying tax to the town. So why should they be coming here profiting from the town if they're not paying tax? I know I'm paying you tax. Candace says the sales tax looks great. I know I'm part of that. Hey, like if I'm here paying you guys tax, I'm paying Verdi money. I'm paying a lot of money. If I have the exclusive there, that can actually give us the right to say, hey, they can still go there, and it removes 75% of the additional traffic. If I'm going to the cemetery or the high school at 11, the rest of the town's fine. Like I said, we're hearing noise from the bar. I hear it every night,
Thank
So,
you.
I mean, I agree. I think there should be some type of fair compromise. I don't think the bright lights, Mandy's not waking up from us. We're right next to her. I highly doubt anybody else further away is going to be waking up from us.
Thank you. Appreciate all your efforts there, Aaron.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? I don't see any. So at this point, we did the first reading, and Candace, what do we need to do at this point? Just,
There's been a lot of stuff talked about in
I
terms.
think, yeah, we just have to get
And
this.
I think it's pretty much back to square one almost.
Yeah, I think we need to revisit a lot of this.
So
Yes.
let me just say that I'll work on it. If someone on council wants to work with me on this, to try to maybe, I can see what other towns are doing with tour businesses and maybe borrow something. I get what everybody's saying, and I see both sides of all of it, and maybe we can find an ordinance that works for everybody.
I agree.
Mr. Mayor, I do think we need an E-session to talk about some
Any
of
session to talk
that
about.
were
that.
discussed tonight. We
We'll
need to
set
talk
that
about
up.
them in E-session.
We'll set that up. Jane, did you have a comment or?
Yeah, I do. I honestly don't think there's a whole lot other than if you said something about operating outdoors after 10 p.m. I mean, the bars don't travel around. The bars stay where they are. And granted, Aaron's tour business, it's not a problem, but then you have to regulate the other ones. And maybe if they're violating what's in the ordinance, he really is not. And if he's indoors after 10 o'clock at a specific place, that seems reasonable to me. as
I agree
well.
with you. That seems reasonable to me as well, Jane. Yeah.
I think the limitation on the amount of tour businesses is probably something we're gonna need to discuss further, but I don't see any problem with some of the other ones, and I don't see a problem with keeping them off of residential streets either.
Yes.
So
Thank you. Good
I don't
point.
think there's a whole lot that needs to be changed.
Well, as our council suggested, maybe we do an e-session to sort of tighten it up a little bit,
Mhm.
get everything discussed and put it in a document that we could be comfortable with for our next meeting. But all good points. Now I see, I'll be right with you, Aaron. One second, I see Mandy, did you have another comment or is that your hand still up?
Kind of. I mean, I do think that an e-session is probably a good idea on this, just so that we can get some better understanding of any precedent as far as positives, negatives, litigation, state law, that kind of thing, please.
Good. Aaron, did you have a final word or just know we're
Yeah.
trying to look out to help you succeed, not.
Yeah, at this point in time, are you guys still holding the band on North Drive, considering I have the contract in state, a current contract with Verde Exploration? That has been something of concern with, Jonathan, the attorney, my attorneys have commented. I'm trying to, I want to work this out in the best possible way. But I just want to know where things stand regarding that because, I'm paying money on that and I can't go there.
So where we at with that particular, in response to that, Candace or Bill? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know anything about it. And we're really,
Mr. Mayor,
we're getting kind of far afield of the zoning of the zoning.
Yeah, yeah.
it is, North Drive is a residential street. It's an R1 to 5. And it is already in the ordinance that they are not supposed to be in residential neighborhoods. People live in that neighborhood that goes through to the cemetery. First off, second off, that is a nasty dirt road.
A nasty what?
Dirt road.
Oh,
Do you remember going down to the sewer plant, Jack?
oh, yeah, yeah.
That's the road we're talking about.
I hear, yeah, no, I got it.
I understand, but that I understand residential as well, but you have a private property there that is doing business with another business. So at that
You're
point,
arguing the code. The code is already says that you can't go in a residential neighborhood and your route is supposed to show that you're not in residential neighborhoods. So
Mr. Mayor,
we
before we
can't
go any
sit
farther,
here and
Yeah,
just
hold a
tell
second,
you that
Sage.
before we go any farther
Hey,
having a
wait
debate
one
about the
second.
legalities, we ought to wait. Let's have an e-session and then let's get back to you.
Good. Thank you,
So
Council.
Mayor, to
Thank you.
clarify then, at the next meeting, we'll put an e-session on, further discuss this, and then the meeting
Yes.
after that, we'll have this ordinance.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Dr. Mayor, might I?
Yes,
I would like to have an e-session as soon as possible, please.
Okay, a special meeting?
Yeah.
yes.
Please.
Okay,
Before you, thank you. Good suggestion. Thanks, man.
I just want to expedite this process and be able to
I agree.
answer.
I agree.
the
I have
business
no
owner's
problem with that
question.
whatsoever. I want to make sure we're doing the right things and doing it fairly. Okay. So we're moving right along to, thank you, to, at this point now to 7.
Mayor, I see Jara has her hand up over here.
Still, are you back or is that from before, Jara?
Never mind.
That's old.
She's also muted, but
That's all right.
Oh,
David.
yeah, no, sorry,
No worries.
Okay, I'll
That's
try to
all
get it
right.
off.
No worries. We do pay attention. All right. Are we going to item 7F? Ordinance 480. An ordinance for the town council of the town of Jerome, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the Jerome Town Code by the addition of new article 8-7, quote, short-term rental regulation, close quote. I think we're leaving that alone.
that would be, this is another ordinance, Mayor, that would have a resolution attached to it that has the meat of it in it. And actually, the ordinance refers to resolution, yeah, it's okay, 633. And I think we'll let the town attorney speak to this. This really basically mirrors what Sedona and Scottsdale have done. But Bill, can you speak on this?
Dr. Mayor, members of council, vacation rentals have been an issue that you as a jurisdiction have tried to address for almost 5 or 6 years now. You had an ordinance, and the Goldwater Institute threatened a lawsuit, and we were unable to effectuate that ordinance. Since then, other jurisdictions in the state have tried to adopt ordinances. Sedona did, and they had it was called an SB 1487. It's a way a legislator can file a complaint with the Attorney General, and you could lose state shared revenue. They, though, have come back with an ordinance that Candace modeled this ordinance. It builds on the statute, and it has significant teeth. It is one of 4 options that you have as a jurisdiction to try to control vacation rentals. The others being nuisance, the others being deed restrictions, the others being HOAs. This is a meaningful way to draw on the statute. Sedona has done it, and that's what Candace modeled. Since then, however, Scottsdale has modeled their ordinance almost identically to Sedona's, and they are being threats are being levied against them regarding risks to their state shared revenue. You have every right to take this step. I think we will defend you if indeed a complaint is levied with the AG. But Candace, how much state shared revenue do you get every year?
Just shy of about 300,000.
And that is the bane. That's the problem with this legislation that lets one legislator go to the AG, and then all of a sudden you have to risk funds. The city of Tucson tried to collect guns that have been confiscated on the streets and tried to melt them down. And they were attacked by the AG, and they were threatened to lose literally millions of dollars, and they had to back off. So my view is this is one of 4 tools that you have. I know citizens in your jurisdiction have sort of suggested that there's no risk of losing state shared revenue. Well, Scottsdale suggests there is, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do what you can to try to control. So I think this ordinance is modeled after Sedona's. I think it's worth approving, but then monitoring it, because this is the first read, correct, Candace?
Yes, yes.
So let's monitor it to see if another complaint is levied. Right now, other jurisdictions have taken this ordinance and they are getting criticized. I think there's safety in numbers. And if indeed you adopt this ordinance, we could work with the other jurisdictions to defend our reading of the statute. My recommendation is I think you go ahead and adopt this, knowing it's just first read, and then we can react to possible claims.
That's a great suggestion. I think the fact it's first read does make a big difference. Thank you. Mandy, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. Thank you, Counselor, for making that explanation and making it very clear what's going on. I don't want to back down. And I'll say this right on the record. The people that have been fighting us and have promoted the 1350 in the past, and they're not easy to have arguments with, those groups and those advocates and their legal teams. But I just am, I'm not willing to back down on doing something. I know this is not what our residents want, but this is kind of what we're limited to in this particular political climate in Arizona, at least for another 8 to 10 months. And I know that we're running a risk, and we can evaluate the risks and do the checks and balances as those may come up to us or to other municipalities. But I think there's power in numbers. I think that we can be part of the leadership team on this. I think that we can be an example for the other municipalities. And I think that if we use a larger regional and rural voice, specifically in Arizona, maybe we might be able to get something accomplished. So thank you.
Thank you, man. I see a hand up there. Who is that? Doajo? Hicks?
Yes, and I have a concerns. Good evening, everyone. I am a new property owner. I just closed on my property and just learned about this ordinance here, so last week. And I do have some concerns because pointers that they're taking, and as a property owner, I do have some concerns about, these things and spending a significant amount of money. I do have concerns about this ordinance.
Okay, thank you. You want to be specific? I mean, well, we don't know what's going to happen. We're just doing this now. This is only the first, we're adopting it now, but it may go away in another couple of months.
I just know that my property, I mean, I only have one apartment, which I'd like to utilize as seasonal. I mean, the stuff that I plan to, I'm opening up a business here in town, but also is that utilizing that space and renting it when I'm not utilizing it. But I know there's an adjacent property that people spent well over $500,000 to purchase it, that they do have intentions of using this as rental property. And there's going to, I think, and I know that the people next to me are quite wealthy and from down in the Phoenix area. I know that they'll have a lot of concerns about this.
Well, we just, thank you. I appreciate your input. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I know. When I respect, and I know I understand as community members as your primary residence, the concerns of controlling that. And I think the other thing that was pointed out to me is controlling affordable housing.
Yes.
But I know that there's going to be concerns with new property owners that have spent a significant amount of money on these properties now.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. And welcome to Jerome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All the best. Okay, Jaraz, is your hand up again, or?
Yes, my hand is up again. Yes, and I think we should do all we can to limit, because otherwise we're going to have businesses come in and we're just going to be a business opportunity for people to have vacation rentals. My suggestion is possibly maybe raising parking to $5. I know that's, I think it's at $4, but that extra little revenue, it's not a lot, for the whole day. And that's my suggestion. So.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I see Jane has her hand up.
I'd just like to say homes are not hotels. And I have no problem with bed and breakfasts or vacation rentals in the commercial zone. And I'm going to just say it again, residential neighborhoods are no place for hotels. And okay.
Thanks, Jane. I don't see any of the hands up. So I'd like to see if we get a motion to approve resolution 633, please, with the advice of council. Yes.
Motion to approve resolution number 633.
Thank you, Sage. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you for the second. Was that Jane, or was that?
Yes.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting resolution 633, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion, resolution 633 passes. Thank you so much. And we'll see how it unfolds over the next period of time. That's for sure. Council, you're going to be busy.
Sir,
Thank you so much, Bill. Really appreciate your input. and help
Mayor,
on that.
thank you.
I just
Yes.
want to confirm that you read the ordinance and title. Did you do that?
I did. I read it. Yes, I did. I
Okay.
thought I did. Yes.
Okay,
I'll read it again if you like.
would you? Yes,
Yes, I will.
just to be
So
sure.
it's resolution number
No,
633.
Ordinance.
Ordinance, sorry, ordinance. Ordinance 633, a
No, no,
resolution.
no.
480.
Ordinance 480. It's the one right in front of the resolution. The resolution just puts the language in. but
Oh, the 480. Yeah. See, I checked that box off already. I apologize.
Yeah, I know you did. That's why I'm
I will-
asking.
that's- Thank you. So the first reading, ordinance number 480, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Jerome, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the Jerome Town Code by the addition of the new article 8-7, quote, short-term rental regulation, close quote.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. And moving along to unfinished business, do we need to take a break, a 5-10 minute break, or are we okay to continue? Council members? Continue? Okay.
I'm sorry, I could use a 5.
So let's just see now, why don't we, it's 8:24, why don't we reconvene at 8:30? 6
Thank you.
minutes.
Dr. Mayor, do you, I don't think you need
You
me
can
anymore,
go.
do you? Okay, thank
I
you.
always need you.
Bill,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for
Thank you,
being here.
Counselor. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Bye.
Council. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Okay, we're taking a break now for 6 minutes. We reconvene at 8:30. Thank you. Okay. Like to reconvene our meeting now at 8:32. And we're moving to unfinished business. Item 8A, public hearing continues on water and sewer rates, fees and charges. Jane, any thoughts on that?
I think that there are some reasonable proposals here. And doesn't really hurt anybody too bad.
No. So what do we- so what would we like to do this evening, Candace? I mean, relative to the discussion.
Hold on, I'm not sure that, just 1 second, please.
Of course.
Uh,
And Jane, I didn't know what
This is just
action.
for direction at this point.
Yeah,
Okay, so we have a hearing that's still open and you can hear from the public about this and you can then continue it or close it. It really doesn't matter at this point, it's up to you. And then you can discuss the scenarios that I presented and, you know, maybe propose an alternate one if these don't suit you and direct me to prepare a resolution for the next meeting. That's where I think you can go. And
Okay.
Sage has her hand up, Mayor.
yes, please, Sage.
So, what I wanted to know is unmute so I can use my hands. In the summary, you say it's a base distance that is from where water enters Jerome.
That's, yeah,
Do you have an idea of how, like, that, what does that encompass? Do you know where, like, it cuts off
I
at
gave
6,500
you a
feet?
map. Did you not get a map from me?
I don't have a map.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can put one on the screen, okay?
Okay.
Bear with me a moment. No, I guess hold on. I'm sorry, it's gonna take me a
Can't see
minute
it.
to find that. Sorry, I had emailed it and I didn't put it in where I thought I did, so just, it's gonna take me a minute, just give me a minute here. Talk
Yep.
among yourselves.
It's too small, Jane. I can't see it.
Okay, I don't have it on there yet. No, I'll put it up. It's okay.
Well, Jane's trying to hold one up and I just, I can't see it. It's too small.
I can put it on the screen. Just bear
Oh.
with me. I found it.
Thanks, Jane.
Okay, here it comes. Got that?
Oh, good job.
Thank you.
Sure. So the water coming in at the bottom here, can you, at 89A,
Yeah,
where it crosses on the lower left, that's where it's being measured from, and the line splits in several places. And those are rough estimates that Rusty did using the map scale.
okay.
So from what I'm seeing here, it looks like out of town is about, in some areas, maybe about 4,000 feet, and other areas about 5,500 feet.
Yes, yes. The closer areas out of town are within that 6,500. There are a few that are way outside of it that don't even show on here.
It looked to me like the furthest in town was about 5,400 feet.
It looks that way, yes. And again, these are very rough estimates right now. We'll have to fine tune them, but I think they're probably pretty accurate.
So based on this, where are we?
Are we done with the screen sharing? Should I stop that
Yeah.
now? Okay.
That's good.
Okay. So it's up to council how you want to proceed with this. You know, I gave you two scenarios. The graduated charge is actually one that was suggested by Rusty, based on the fact that the further out you go, the more likely it is that the line is serving fewer and fewer and fewer people. So
Jane, Sage, what do you guys have thoughts from your perspectives? Yes, Sage. Are you muted?
From looking at the map, I'm thinking maybe the up to should be 5,500 instead of 6,500 feet. Because that's town, the end of town property, you know?
mhm. We can do that, and then everything else can just be bumped up, you know, accordingly. the way-
Accordingly,
Yeah.
that works.
Right, and which of the scenarios do you like better?
Alex, any thoughts from your historical perspective?
I'm trying to make sense of this. Candace, on scenario 1, it says the base distance is 6,500 feet. So let's just pick like the end of town at 5,400 feet down Dundee Avenue. How much, according to the scenario 1, would they have to pay?
Within the base distance, up to the base distance, nothing.
Okay, so, and then on scenario 2, it's the same. Up to that base distance, they are paying nothing.
Right. That's correct.
Okay. So really, this is not going to affect very many people is what I'm looking at from these scenarios.
It won't affect many, that's correct. And in town, everybody's so close together that it's really the long lines that are going out to serve specific properties that are a problem for maintenance, because when they're all close together, it's hard to determine who should be responsible for that.
So as far as out of town and line maintenance charge, I think scenario 2 is going to recap more money for the town if they have to work on those water lines that are all the way down in, let's say, other municipalities' boundaries.
Right,
That's how I'll put it.
right.
So I'm up for discussion on this. I think out of the two scenarios that we're looking at, scenario 2 is the one that is going to be more beneficial for what we're trying to do this for.
Right, so we're looking at scenario 2 with a base distance then of 5,500 feet, and then everything else will start, it'll just be bumped down 1,000 feet, that whole line. And do you like the 50 cents, dollar, 50 cent graduation for each level there? Or do you want to go higher or lower, or I just did that to start somewhere.
I'm up for the council discussing it and seeing what kind of scenarios that would actually bring. So,
Thanks, Alex. Mandy, you have any thoughts on that?
I kind of agree with Alex. I want some real world solid numbers, but I'm definitely intrigued by this option, and I think that it's a good thing to look into and pursue, especially if we can work with some funding on that.
Would you say that last part again, Mandy? It kind of got muddy there.
Sorry, especially if we can work with some funding on that.
Work with some funding?
Isn't there funding available for out-of-town infrastructure improvements?
Well, this is something that, it's just money coming to us. It's not money we're spending.
Ah, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, this is the charge that we would charge people a line maintenance charge based on the distance from where the water comes into town. And in town, everything is so close together that it's really hard to determine. And so
Yeah.
use a 5,500 foot base, but beyond that, when the lines get spread out and spread out and spread out, and they're very difficult to maintain, that's when we
Mhm.
start with the line maintenance charge per 1,000 feet beyond the base distance.
I mean, I think that we need to do that because it is maintenance and it does cost us money and it is not the easiest places to access either.
Right,
I just
right.
want to make sure that we're being both fair to the consumer and making sure that we're covering any costs we may have.
It doesn't seem
that's-
like an excessively exorbitant amount.
No, it is
No.
not. It-
So I,
it-
you know, what I mean, so I think certainly, you know, I can see throwing that up in the air, go with it and see what the reaction is from people if they think, oh, that's not so bad. I thought it would be worse, rather, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not.
We
going
wanted to be
affect
fair. I think we all
any
wanted to be
accounts,
fair.
But
but-
it gives us something back toward the cost of
Absolutely.
the maintenance of the lines. And,
Absolutely, and that's necessity,
Right.
without being
So-
greedy.
If everybody likes scenario 2, do you want me to prepare a resolution for the next meeting on that basis?
I think that's reasonable.
Yes, please.
Okay,
Yep, we're getting, yes.
I
or no.
agree.
Thank you,
okay.
everyone. I
good.
see Jane
Great, thank
nodding
you.
yes too, so
And
thank
you
you.
still have a public hearing open, Mayor. You might want to open it to the public and then close the hearing or continue it.
Well, open to the public, like mean right now, or you mean
Yeah.
another?
Mhm.
Is there any members of the public that want to comment on this? Mimi, any thoughts? No? Okay, just checking.
Okay, then you can close the hearing and then we don't have to keep putting it on the
Okay,
agenda.
so if my colleagues are okay with that, we'll close the hearing and move forward with this. And let's see how it is. We can always change it, but I think it's important that we move forward and make a decision on this. I agree. So
Great.
let's end that and move forward.
All right,
Thank you. Okay, can we move to the next unfinished business? Hotel Jerome window replacement. Holy mackerel, I can't get over the prices of these things. Really?
we
Something.
did budget 20,000 for this, just so you know.
Yeah, no, I know, and we're close. I was curious, the one, the 6 windows with the bronze framing for 20,000, I don't know. You know, I think we need to, you know, do something, one that's gonna last, but clearly that would fit in there because that's such a treasured location and it is, you know, we want to increase the number of tourists that come down to that area, to the co-op, to the Mimi's place, to the wine tasting, to, you know, that area. So I think I don't have a problem investing in something that's aesthetic as well as functional so that we can, you know, have that as a welcoming location. I don't know what my colleagues think about that and what their thoughts are. I see Mandy, your hands up. Maybe not.
Yes, sorry, I couldn't find my mute button.
Okay, cool. I couldn't either. So I just, which
it's
one of
my
these makes sense? Yeah.
I'm sorry, they're huge sheets. It's my understanding that they're huge sheets of glass and the removal is what's expensive. But maybe there might be a member of the public who would be able to give us a better idea of why.
And why, what was the first comment you were saying? There was,
Glass is very expensive. A big piece of glass is going to be expensive.
yes, that's correct. So what was
Then
your-
also
I missed the beginning.
doing that removal is also going to be expensive.
Yes.
And the wood framing around it needs to be replaced too, is my understanding.
Yeah, the termite damage. Yes.
Correct. I believe we have a quote from Cresta Construction, and I think he's on the call, so you could ask questions if you'd like.
Okay, I see that. Let me see what Sage's question is, and then we'll go to Crestley Construction. Sage, did you have a question or comment, please?
Yeah. So on the one from Central Glass, is that 2 different quotes? One's for wood and one's for some kind of bronze metal frame?
That's what I think that it is the case. Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, now the gentleman from the construction company, Crested, who is that, please?
That's me, Mac Brennan with Crested Construction. So can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can. And I
Okay.
see you replacement of decayed wood framing per window, $1,000.
Yeah, so the cladding on the window, instead of going with the wood, which requires more maintenance, it'd be basically an aluminum clad on the exterior of the window, and then it's painted so that it doesn't break down as fast as the wood does. So it has far more long-term benefits as long as the maintenance around the windows is taken care of also. That's one of the big parts. And then trying to get that glass out of the two windows on the south side is going to be pretty tricky so they don't get broken too. So it's just not really an easy job because you don't know everything that's involved until once you get in there, because it's all closed in and you can't see what's in there until you start tearing it apart. So my suggestion is to go with the aluminum clad windows that are painted. You can get the bronze or the red color, and the longevity of that is way better than the wood. So that's my recommendation on that.
So looking at the price from your perspective, would the glass, where it says like the bronze framing up there, $20,000 for that central glass? That's not you, but how does that say? We don't see your cost for that. Are you up there at 20,000 for the whole kit and caboodle?
No, that's just for the glass.
It says bronze framing.
Yep, that's a framing on the window. So it's bronze framing or red framing. So when you get a window and you put your window in, you look at the exterior of your window, most of them are white. So that would be bronze or red to maintain basically the visual appeal of what's in place now.
Would your price be the same as that? I don't see, the only price I see for you is the $1,000 to replace the wood.
Per window.
What about the glass?
That's replacing the glass. So the 20,000 is the glass. That's the glass company taking the glass out and replacing the opening with a new window.
Gotcha.
So can I ask a question here? Because this
Yes,
whole thing
please.
is
Yeah, because
confusing to me.
it's confusing to me too.
And actually, Mac, I see that the proposal from Central Glass was submitted to you, so you probably can explain it a little better. It says 6 windows, bronze framing. Does that mean that they're going to put the metal framing in also?
So the glass comes in a metal frame already.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep, it's just, instead of a normal residential size window, it's basically the size of a sliding glass window that's already in a frame.
Okay. So the $20,000 from Central Glass, which is labor of $8,000 and materials of $12,000 for bronze framework windows, then all that would need to be done is what? The wood removed by you? What would happen?
Yep, so I'd have to come in and take out the trim and get everything ready for them. They'd come in, take out the glass, then I would reframe and fix everything inside of the walls that's rotted.
Oh.
And then they would come back once that's done and install the new window.
So basically, we'd be looking at their 20,000 plus another 6,000 for you. Is that accurate?
Yep, that'd be right in there. But at this time, I can tell you, I don't know if that quote's going to be any good because of
In a while.
it's been so long and the cost of materials has gone up so much right now.
And the glass company quote, I don't know if you were involved in that or not. That was kind of unclear to me. It just says bronze storefront windows and doors, 12,000. That seems a lot less, but it just feels like this is not like apples to apples.
No, I didn't have anything to do with the other glass company, so I don't know what was explained to them on
right.
what they're bidding out at.
Candace, I don't think that includes in any way, the one from the glass company, the
Uh-huh.
restoration of the damage that's actually caused the windows to
Oh,
fail.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
interior of the wall damage.
So,
I'd like to know, when would we get the firm number of what it will cost?
Well, I'd have to get back a hold of the glass companies and see what the current prices are, and then go back down and check everything out, dig a little bit into those windows, and then get a solid number to you.
Okay, because I just hate waiting, you know what I mean? That's the thing. We've been waiting way too long, and that's a top priority. You know,
What
we've
it-
got our next meeting, so I don't know if we can get, how soon it will take to get a committed fee and how long it will last. Let's say we can get it for $6,000 and we'll hold the price for 30 days or 60 days, something like that. I don't know with the delivery issues too of getting lumber. I keep hearing the wood prices going crazy. I like the idea of the metal, but I want to get something that's real, that's firm, that's a commitment with a time frame so we can move forward with this as soon as possible.
Perhaps I could create a form where we could take it to the at least the two glass. I don't think Pella is going to be reasonable there, but
No, I don't, yeah.
we could take it to the two glass companies and do it as if it was a bid, so that they're just unit prices and apples to apples. And because it's very difficult to decipher this, it doesn't seem like, anyway, I can create a form, and Mac, if you would take a look at it after I do and let me know if I've missed anything.
Yeah, I sure will. I can do that for you.
And getting a commitment on a price that's for more than a day or two, you know what I mean, that we know, so we can act, get it done, and have and make a decision on the budget and know that it's not going to go up.
Okay, yeah, it would have to be done within 30 days. It hasn't been shortened to 2 weeks again yet, but nobody's going past 30 days right now.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I see Jane ready to ask a question.
So, the one bid, well, the amount, the quote was for 5 windows. The other one's for 6 windows. I don't know why that is. And are we looking at the same appearance as it is now?
So from Central Glass, that is all one piece with the metal clad around the outside. The framing is metal clad. It's very similar to what is there now. It's just not wood. So
Right.
it would have a little bit different visual, but not that much.
Hey, nice.
We are required to go before design review to replace windows in a historic building.
Yeah. I see
It's
Mr.
essentially
Linder
the
has-
same material on the outside as what we did upstairs.
If it's the same, we're okay.
Yeah, if the appearance is the same.
Kurt, is that you with your hand up?
No, that's Nancy Robinson.
Okay, I'm looking, okay. Nancy, it is Nancy. Sorry, I'm looking at
Yes.
Kurt. I'm looking at Kurt saying it's Nancy with your hand up. Sorry, dear.
Can you hear me?
Nancy.
Yes. Just for you to know, Steve and I have been looking for glass and it is very expensive. However, all your local glass companies get their glass from the Wright brothers in Anthem, and they deliver to everyone. So we just went to Anthem and saw the Wright brothers for the building that we're working on. And the savings for glass is substantial because you're getting rid of, I realize you want to do local business, but literally the glass for all the companies you have quoted here, except for Pella, get their glass from the Wright brothers. So just for you to know.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
All right, so Candace, let's see what we can do. Wright Brothers, Anthem, and see what Max can put together.
Okay.
Any other questions on this, please, or no? Hearing none. Thanks, Max. Look forward to work. Appreciate your help with this.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, water line improvements and hydrant installation.
This is just an update for you. You see the prices. We had a
Yeah.
grant for construction of 358,000. A large part of that is also for engineering. And the bids came in for the total project at over $1 million for the low bid and over $2 million for the high bid.
Wow.
So what NACOG has done, and our engineer is in the process right now of scaling it way back. We're going out to bid again because there's no way we can award a bid like this, obviously. We're going out to bid again for since Dundee was the stated priority, we're going to divide the bid into 3 alternates. The first would be Dundee up to North Drive, the major part of Dundee. The second alternate, if we still have money in there to award, would be the rest of Dundee. And the third would be things like staking and things like that, that originally had thought it would just be the engineer doing it, but we'll get some competitive quotes about that. So that's in the process, and I'll keep you all posted.
Thank you.
Let's just keep our
Appreciate
fingers
that.
crossed.
8D, COVID-19. Based on what's going on around the country with the Omicron, I don't think we should change a thing. Anybody have any comments, or I think we just do the best we can.
I agree with the Dr. Mayor. Just continue as is and revisit every month, please.
Let's keep, we'll revisit it next meeting, but I think right now, the number of cases in Yavapai County everywhere, I can't believe 17,000 new cases a day in Arizona.
Crazy.
It's insane. So again, if people have to make their decision about the vaccine, about the booster, and about the mask. So just do the best you can, stay safe, please. Moving right along to item 9A, new business. Street light at 5th and Verde. I know that there's some comments saying, well, it hasn't been there, so we shouldn't put one there. The safety issue, I want to get some of your thoughts on whether or not, Sage, Alex, Jane, Mandy, whether we think this is a good idea from a safety perspective to replace that street lamp on 5th and Verde.
You've got hands up by Mandy and Sage and Jane.
Okay, we'll go. That's the order we'll go. Mandy, Sage, and Jane.
I rely on the streetlights up here on Center, like at Center and 4th and Center and 5th, for sure. I think I would be interested to know what any of the residents think down there. And then also we need to be remembering that there is some new construction that is going to happen down there.
Thank you. Sage?
I think that it would be wise to maybe do a neighborhood survey or meeting or something to see if the residents on that end of Verde want that fixed, because it has been out for a long time. I know that years and years ago, when my husband and I first moved in together, we lived in the end of a cul-de-sac and there was a street light there. And I tell you what, that thing they can definitely blast into your house. Yeah. And we were so grateful after 2 years that it burnt out. And we had almost a year that there was no street light. We were the only house on the end of the street. And then the lady bought the house next door and insisted that they fix it. And we were so bummed out because it was rude. So I think that we should ask the residents that already own all of that property down there and have been living without that street light, whether or not they really want it fixed.
Thank you. Good suggestion.
I can send out a letter. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. And keep in mind that if it's replaced, it's not going to be the nice little twinkly lights that we have now. It's going to be a brighter light, an LED type light, I believe, or whatever APS uses now, but it's not going to be the same. It won't be historic and
Vic.
Got it. Jane, did you have a comment or you're all set?
I did. I went online and I was looking for replacement lights for old historic area street lights. And I wasn't quite sure what I was looking for, but I wonder if we could look for lights elsewhere for other street lights if we end up having to replace them, so that we don't have to have the LED or the whatever they are, halogen, the new looking lights.
Gotcha. Mandy?
That's all.
Thanks, Jane. Mandy?
Sorry, I just want to follow up that in the last, over the last 8 months, but really in the last year and a half, 2 years, there's been a lot of changes to who owns what that is in that particular corner that light would shine on their property. And so I agree with Sage that we should somehow at least see what the people who live there think.
Yep. So Candace,
I'll send out a mailing and we'll see what the results are. And if the decision is to replace it, then we'll look into what we can do that would be the least
offensive. Yeah.
Thanks,
got it.
Candace.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's good. All good suggestions and you're all focused around the same idea. So that's pretty good. So you got that? We're good. So 9B proclamation, Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Is this
I would
a-
like to make a motion to approve and request that the Dr. Mayor read the proclamation in full.
Okay,
Seconded.
okay, thanks. Jane, Candace, you have it? I don't think.
I have it. Do you want me to read it?
Yes, please, 'cause I don't think I have, thought I had it, but I
Thank
can't
you.
find it.
Okay, and can you tell me who seconded that? Was that Sage? Okay, thanks, Sage. Okay, Human Trafficking Awareness Month, January 2022. Whereas human trafficking is a modern day form of slavery involving the illegal trade of people for exploitation or commercial gain. And whereas every year, millions of men, women, and children are trafficked in countries around the world, including the United States. And whereas it is estimated that human trafficking generates billions of dollars of profit per year, second only to drug trafficking as the most profitable form of transnational crime. And whereas human trafficking is a hidden crime whose victims rarely seek help because of language barriers, fear of the traffickers, and/or fear of law enforcement. And whereas traffickers use force, fraud, or coercion to lure their victims and force them into labor or commercial sexual exploitation. And whereas traffickers look for people who are susceptible for a variety of reasons, including psychological or emotional vulnerability, economic hardship, lack of a social safety net, natural disasters, or political instability. And whereas the trauma caused by the traffickers can be so great that many may not identify themselves as victims or ask for help, even in highly public settings. And whereas the United States Senate designated January 11th as National Human Trafficking Awareness Day, and other organizations have designated January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Now therefore, I, Dr. Jack Dillenberg, Mayor of the Town of Jerome, Arizona, on behalf of the Jerome Town Council, do hereby proclaim January 2022 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in the Town of Jerome, and offer our support for increasing public awareness of human trafficking.
Thank you. Yep, I found it. Today's the day. So do we have a motion from Mandy to approve this? Do we have a second?
Sage, there was Sage.
Second.
Yes.
Sage, saying any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving this proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. So today, Town of Jerome is recognizing Human Trafficking Awareness Month and Day today. Thank you very much. So Candace will get that signed.
I'll put that on our website too.
Thank you. Is there anything we want to do besides that in regards to this, or that's it? We don't want, okay. Next, road signage. I think each of us was approached by a young woman in our town who was concerned about commercial versus residential and housing stuff. Yes, is that?
It's
Candace?
me. I just wanted to update you there. I had a conversation with Alan earlier today,
Yes,
and Alan had a conversation with Margie, who had requested this, and I don't know if there's others, there may be other issues you want to discuss, but regarding Margie's request, Alan basically explained to her that the residents only sign would be expensive, it would clutter up the street, and it wouldn't be effective. That was his opinion, and she accepted that. However, he is going to go ahead and get a sign for School Street where it veers left to access 89A that points people to 89A, so people don't get lost on those side streets trying to find 89A, and that should
Excellent.
alleviate a lot of the problem.
yes.
So I wanted to update you on those two things. If there's other sign issues you want to discuss.
Those sound good. I don't know, Sage, I saw you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that really the part that I had highlighted in this was the very last part of her second paragraph where it says, I would suggest a sign stating clearly to veer to the left to get back to 89A. Because
now-
GPS tells them to come down second to get out, and then they can't make the turn at the bottom of second, and it's a fiasco. We had a 24-foot box truck back down Second Street today.
Oh, God. Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. and thought he was gonna make the turn at my house and Alan's house, and there's no room.
Mhm.
So I mean, really, we need to figure out a way to get GPS to stop sending people down that road.
I don't know, yeah, I don't know how to do it, but I think we've
I'll
got to do
look
something to get
into
them to
it. I've been to
89A
school.
safely.
I'll try again, but
Lacey, is that you? Yes, ma'am.
As far as the residential only signs for School Street, they're set back really far already on School Street. Like you already have to be on School Street before you even see a towing sign, residential only permit, anything. So I don't know if those can be brought forward, like more up where the actual Y in the road is.
We'll run that by Al. We'll run that by the chief and see what he says.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good
Mhm.
suggestion. Candace, I know, is taking notes on that one.
I am.
I see
Yes.
Mandy, and then we'll get to Jane.
So, yeah, that box truck, man, that was unique. My dad was down there helping him direct traffic because it was rough. I don't like seeing all the damage on our cobblestone streets. I also have a lot of concerns about safety on as far as speed. That's been a huge issue on Verde. As you know, there are kids and dogs and pets, and it's a pretty massive issue. I mean, there are locals that speed way too fast, but there's also the tourists. The running joke has been that, you know, if I sat on the front porch of the Center Ave house that my parents have, I could probably make a living just answering, how do I get out of here?
Oh, jeez.
Or how do I find the Grosetta rental?
Yeah.
I get certain buildings, certain directions, but mostly it's like, where am I and how do I get out of here?
There you go. Thank you. And who else did someone else have a hand up that I'm missing?
Me.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Jane. Thank you.
Also down in the bottom of the gulch, there are, when you cross the gulch crossing past the fire station, ATVs are constantly going up everybody's driveways down there. And I've had complaints from several of the people that live on the dead end roads down there. And I don't know how to deal with that. Maybe a sign across the wash that says no through traffic, dead end, no
Residents only.
turnaround, something
Residents
like
only.
that. Because every single one of those roads, they're looking for Allen Springs Road, and I've seen groups of them drive up these people's driveways and then have to back down because they can't turn around, or they're driving on the people's private property trying to turn around. And rather than, I mean, I don't know what we can do because part of the roads are public, but then they dead end at private property. And that happens not so much during the winter, but in the summertime, all the time I see it. I mean, I see it this time of year too, but just not as much. Is that a possibility?
I could talk to Alan about that too.
I mean, the other thing, I guess if they put up private property signs, no turnaround, by the time the people have driven up their driveways, it's too late. They've got to
The no
go on
turnaround
up the
signs don't
driveway.
work. The no turnaround signs don't work. They turn
Well, no through traffic, dead end.
I don't know. Well, let's see what.
I mean,
Alan
they are
says.
dead end roads. They're not through roads,
Yeah.
so I don't know what could be done to stop that either.
Thank you. Sage has her hand up.
I just kind of want to follow up with that with Jane. From where I sit up here, I can see the gulch, and I see that too. I think a lot of it has to do with GPS again, because even here on Verde, I've talked to, I think there was 7 or 8 Jeeps last year that came down Verde because their GPS told them that they could get to Allen Springs from the end of Verde. So, I mean, and I don't understand why people don't get that we're on the side of a mountain and GPS doesn't really work here.
Crazy. Any other? I don't see any other discussion. So you've got the notes to share with Alan.
Yeah, I will. I'll see what he has. to
Jane, did you have a follow-up comment?
Well, no, I'm just wondering all these people that live down there, I guess are technologically behind and could not send emails. I guess I could just let them know. It's still up in the air. Don't know what to do.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, moving right along. To and from the council. Anybody have I know Mandy's got a list. That goes without
Of
saying.
course I do.
All
Mine's
right,
actually
Vice
really
Mayor-
short. I
Vice Mayor, what do you
promise.
got?
All right, switching pages of my notes. There we go. I am going to be out of town in Michigan. I will be available digitally, remotely, video, whatever. But just as a heads up, I get on a plane Saturday morning. I'm going home to check on the house there and do some family things on
Safe
behalf
shot.
of my parents.
Safe
So,
shot.
and then I have had a request from the Lions Club to find out if they would like us to run a vision clinic up here, similar to what they do in Parkdale. Basically, it's free vision exams, and then they set people up with glasses who need them. And those glasses either require a deposit or a sponsorship of a very small amount, and then they can have free glasses. So that was a question. They really just need a table and 2 chairs. So if we could consider that, that would be great. The suggestion was 3 times a year, so every 4 months, because we are a smaller population than Clarkdale. I would like to see if we can get, because we're kind of in that process down there right now with legislative stuff, if we can get maybe just a little legislative update from the league. Just something that's easy, quick synopsis that we can all kind of glance over with things that Nick Ponder may think we should be keeping our eyes on. You know, we get the big ones, but I'd like to see something a little smaller and more digestible, not only for us, but for our constituents. And my last thing is that I think that we need to look at updating our building codes. We're still using something that is really out of date. And so if we could have that on the next agenda to have that discussion, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Jane?
I was wondering if we might be able to do a walkthrough of the Hotel Jerome again and talk about perhaps seeing if we could move along on the 2nd floor, the floor above the co-op, to try to get some affordable housing in town, because really town properties are about the only thing we have any control over.
Yes.
And also a discussion of the parking area down below, and maybe talking to the Historical Society about a trade for some other parking that we have to consolidate that parking area. And then also I wanted to let people know that I did talk to the guy that wanted to put the goats at the cemetery in Clarkdale, Dave Garner. And it seems to me, I told him I'd come down there this week and take a look at the fencing, but it seems like it's a lot more involved than just letting goats run loose on the property, and something that we need to consider when we're talking about, I mean, if goats are in there when people are going in there to visit graves, what happens if they let one of the goats out? What happens if the goats knock somebody down? They need water. I think it's a lot more complicated than what we talked about at the last meeting.
Yep.
So I just wanted to let everybody know that, and I will go down there and look at the property with him. And so anyway, I don't know what we want to do about a walkthrough of the Hotel Jerome. If anybody else is interested,
Yeah.
maybe with the building inspector, and see what we might be able to do.
Cool. I think I agree with you, Jay. I'd like to get that project moving along a lot quicker than we have been. We need that facility for housing. We do. Sooner the
I
better.
mean, even a little bit at a
I
time.
agree. No, absolutely. So Candace, let's see if we can put together a little.
And I just
doodle.
want to let you know that the lead paint has now been abated. That's just been completed. So that's a big piece that we had to have done before we could do anything else.
Great.
Yeah, that was my question. I know where to from, but I was going to clarify, have we completed the
Yes,
lead paint abatement?
had
Because we
to-
couldn't do anything until that was done.
That's exactly right. And they just finished it. They had to do certain areas, run through it 4 times in order to get it within the limits that it needed
Wow.
to be. But
Well,
it's done.
that's great. That's good news. So let's keep going. Let's go. Let's pick up the pace as best we can. Jane, I think it's a great idea. Let's go check it out. Anything else? Anybody else? Miss Sage.
So, Porta Johns. I thought that we had decided to leave them up or leave a couple up, and now there's not any. And
but-
there's quite the discussion on Facebook about it.
I saw that. At the
I sent
November-
the same inquiry.
At the November 9th meeting, and you can check minutes, council said, take it down to 2 until the holidays, then take all of them out after the holidays. And what we did was, we started to take them down to 2, but the guy said, the remaining ones are gonna get way overused. So we left them all in place and then just took them all out at once after the holidays. So if council's having second thoughts about that.
Yeah, I've been
Well,
getting complaints
just-
too.
To finish my thought processes, where do we stand on the public restrooms that we're working on building?
Months
Design-
away.
It's gone to design review and got the thumbs up. It's going to planning and zoning, I believe, tomorrow, or I'm sorry, the 19th. And Alan feels they can do it, fairly quickly.
Oh, I hope
Okay.
so.
And then
That'd be
the
great.
rest of that is some way to let the residents of Jerome know, because the complaints I'm seeing are from people that live here and work here, and they have no place to go to the bathroom down in that area. And I'm thinking that most of them don't realize that the co-op's bathrooms are back open.
Right,
So some way to inform the people that live and work here that that's open, and then they can start directing the
Right.
public there too.
Right, yeah, and the co-op bathrooms are back open. I did confirm that with Rex today. And the best way to get the word out, let me think about that. Maybe just something on Facebook.
Or a post, can we do a posting at like the post office?
Sure, yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, or yeah, just like where we post, maybe where people go and read our agendas and just let them know, just for your information. It was closed during COVID, but it is open and accessible to the public, because some people even are saying that they just feel weird going and using it because they don't feel like it's a public restroom. But they need to understand that it's
Right.
basically partially funded by us because we give them a discount on the rent for making it a
correct.
public restroom.
Buy the
Yeah.
It is
supplies
a
and-
town public restroom,
Yes,
and
yes.
anybody can use it when it's
And that
open.
the other ones, the other ones are on their way, and we hope to have them in a couple of
Yeah.
months.
Well, I'd say by summer. I wouldn't say a couple of months, but by
Summer's a long time. See, that's 6 months.
That's,
That's a long time.
well,
And that's,
how
I
things
may have,
happen, so, just
I don't know, that's,
overpromise, but I would say by summer then.
how expensive were they? Again, I'm just, because 6
About
months is a
50
long
he thinks
time.
about 50,000,
50,000?
yeah,
For the-
that's what we had budgeted, and he thinks he can do it within that.
Oh, no, that's the builded one.
Yeah.
How much
yeah.
are the
Porta
ones we got
potty-
rid of?
porta potties,
Porta
they were
johns, they
13
were,
Porta Johns.
God, I
1,300
want
a
to say
month,
about $13 to $1,500 a
1,500 a
month.
month.
Yeah.
Yep.
For all of them?
For the ones we had going, which were 3, something.
I
like
think we ought to
that.
reconsider doing that. I think 6 months, lady, I think 6 months may be too long a time to wait, honestly.
We have
And if
public
and if we've got the
restrooms on-
money, if we're making good money on taxes,
But we
and
have
everything.
public restrooms throughout town. I
We're
mean,
basically-
there's,
well, we
they're
got
on
the 2 in
each
the
end.
co-op, 2 in the co-op, 2 in the firehouse.
You got the new state motor building,
Right.
Which one?
the new state motor building, Historical Society owns it. Those are public restrooms down there.
We're basically in the same place we were before
Yeah.
COVID, where
Yes.
we were
Okay.
before we ever had public restrooms.
Yeah.
But
Alright.
people got used to them, and
Yeah,
that's,
okay.
uh, But also if you do want to make a change and bring them back, there's also a charge to bring them back again and to take
Okay.
them away again and, you
I
know.
got it. Okay, so listen, we'll just go, just so we know, it's going to be 6 months. So let's, as Sage said, let's promote the ones we have available.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments before we wrap it up? Sage, what do you think?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second? No second. I guess we're here for a while. We got a second? Okay, thank you. Do we need to have all those in favor? Please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, 9:22, we adjourn our meeting. Thank you very
night.
much, everyone. Stay
night,
safe out
everybody.
there. Mimi, thanks for staying with us. Appreciate it very much. All right.